Inclusion Drives Innovation has one goal: to give leaders across Kendall Square the tools and the platform to build anti-racist organizations. Today, we're joined by 134 representatives from 27 organizations across Kendall Square. This is a testament to the collaborative and curious spirit of our community, and I'm honored to welcome all of you to this first session. You're the people, even while living through a global pandemic. I mean, I have to say that again. You are the people, even while living through a global pandemic, who are determined to drive deeply needed change in our companies and in our community. Thank you for being here. This program was designed by the Kendall community for the Kendall community, and I want to thank these 12 host committee organizations that worked with us throughout the summer. They provided seed capital to get this program off the ground, and they provided advice and guidance as we shaped this program to be something that I hope you will find deeply informative, meaningful, and help you drive the change you're looking to drive in your organizations. Over the next 12 weeks, we are going to go on a learning journey. We're going to understand our identities and how this has shaped our experiences in the world. We're going to look at policies, both formal and informal, within our organizations through an anti-racist lens. And finally, we're going to come together to look at ways that we can change, adapt, and create new policies that will help each of us reach our internal goals. Throughout this journey, we will be accompanied by a group of peers. We've created these groups that will meet every other week in between our general sessions like today. And we think this is one of the most special elements of this program. It's in these small group sessions that you'll be able to synthesize your learning and really develop a network of peers to exchange best practices and do joint problem solving together. And we hope, of course, through these 12 weeks, but we hope even beyond this. Your small groups will be led by a team of peer leaders. These are amazing people, many who I know personally who joined us for last year's DEI learning journey. They have all volunteered their time in spite of having big, busy jobs, just like all of you, and they've also completed additional training so that they can show up and be really effective facilitators in your small groups. So I want to thank each of our peer leaders for stepping up in this way for this journey. I have to also just thank the amazing team at She Geeks Out, our facilitators for this program, who partnered with us every step of the way to develop this program's rich content. Inclusion Drives Innovation is a program that's more than 2 years in the making. I'd like to share with you just a little bit about KSA's DEI journey so you understand some context on how we all arrived here today. In 2018, our organization and our board of 27 senior leaders across Kendall Square defined diversity, equity, and inclusion as an imperative for Kendall Square to maintain its dominance as an epicenter of global innovation. We started this journey driven by curiosity, and one of our first invitations to engage in deeper learning was to the Pulitzer-nominated team at the Boston Globe, who wrote the 7-part series I know many of you have read on race in Boston. From that experience, we went out and we hosted 20 small group discussions across Kendall Square, where we sought to understand how people who worked in Kendall experienced racism at work, on the sidewalks, in their lives. From there, we launched our diversity, equity, and inclusion learning community, where 17 leaders gathered every single month for several hours to embark on a learning journey together. From that experience, we learned several things, but 2 I want to highlight today. First, we have so much we can learn from one another. It's in Kendall's DNA to collaborate, and this community has stepped up to solve major problems many times before. And I mean, look at us today in this pandemic, doing it every single day. Addressing racism is another one of those opportunities. No one has gotten it right entirely, but many of our organizations have found pieces of solutions that are beginning to really work. And those ideas should be shared. We need to cross-pollinate more. We need to exchange ideas. And that's why we created Inclusion Drives Innovation. Second, we grounded our focus in racial inequity. We learn that racism is the most intractable issue in American society. When you can solve for racial inequity, you create a foundation on which you can solve for other inequities. In 2020, COVID-19 and the disproportionate impacts of the disease across racial groups, as well as the civil unrest over police violence, has made this conversation more urgent than ever. This summer as a team, we read Ibram Kendi's book, one I know many of you have read, How to Be an Anti-Racist. His emphasis on changing policy really drove home what 2 years of learning had begun to illuminate for us. We all have to aspire to change more than attitudes or habits if our DEI work is to have meaningful and lasting impact. Real change comes from changing policies, written policies and unwritten policies that ultimately create inequities. We were particularly motivated by the question that Kendi asks at the end of his book. What if we approach solving racism in the same way that we approach curing cancer? For Kendall Square, that question just has deeper resonance than I think maybe any other place in the world. You know, here we are in this community that guided the first person to the moon, the community that mapped the human genome. So what if Kendall Square decided to approach solving racism as seriously and with as much urgency as so many of us show up every single day to cure cancer and other diseases? With that, I just want to thank all of you for joining us on this journey, for asking hard questions, for facing painful truths, for giving time, for really turning off your Slack, for turning off your email, for putting down your phone and engaging with this content and with your peers in a deep way. This program is an experiment and we are so excited to do it with you. Thank you.